Hello everybody, this is Anisha and today I'll be presenting a differentiated year 5 lesson on fractions and decimals. This lesson aligns with the Australian curriculum ACMNA 1 to 7, which focuses on identifying, representing and comparing fractions and their multiples along with recognizing the equivalent fractions. By the end of today's lesson, students will be able to identify fractions in diagrams, explain the equivalent fractions, and place fractions on the number line and use accurate mathematical vocabularies. So in this class, we have two diverse learners, Annie and Peter. Annie is an EALD student who will benefit from scaffolded vocabulary, sentence starters, whereas on the other hand, Peter is an autistic learner who will be benefiting from structured routines and clear step-by-step instructions. And Peter will be using audio instead of written text. So I'll move on to the next slide. So in this slide, we have listed few teaching strategies for engagement. They are explicit teaching, guided practice, and independent practice. So in case of explicit teaching, I'll use fraction strips and number lines, and I will model the fractions using physical materials, and I will also be using think aloud strategies in order to demonstrate mathematical reasoning. Whereas in terms of guided practice, I have decided to pair up my students with each other and they will be working on ordering the given fractions on the whiteboard. So for example, like 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 8. So they will be ordering these fractions in the range from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. And I will also encourage my students to have cross discussions and collaborations. This will allow students to verbalize mathematical problems and will also teach students about importance of teamwork. So regarding the independent practice, I have decided to provide them with the choice of digital or paper tools. And I will provide them basically with the worksheets, which includes like matching diagrams to the fractions, and it will also include some equivalent fraction puzzles. So I'll move on to the next slide. So if over in this slide, we have I have included some differentiated teaching style for my diverse learners, and I have given my diverse learners name as Annie and Peter. Annie is our EALD student and Peter is our autistic student. So for Annie, during the fraction snap activity, I'll pair her with supportive peers and provide her with some visual fraction cues too. Whereas for Peter, I'll provide him with predictable routine and clear rules of the game so that he understands everything clearly while in the beginning of the game. So moving on to explicit teaching, Annie will have a word bank with key terms, whereas Peter will have step-by-step instructions as well as visual timetable. And on terms of guided practice, Annie will be given sentence starters such as this is bigger than this, because, and the reason. And Peter will be given like an interactive fraction app, which will help him to enhance his understanding. So talking about independent practice, Annie will be getting visual aids on the worksheet, whereas Peter will be given digital worksheet instead of normal worksheet. And except this, suppose I have thought about some extra supports for Peter and Annie, like whenever Peter will feel overwhelmed or in any kind of situation, I have allocated a quiet space for Peter to go and have a rest and then come back to the class. So this will help him to calm down his mind and return to the original state. And also I have integrated Aboriginal 8 ways pedagogy in these concepts, and like using the storytelling and pattern exploration, which will allow students to connect mathematical problems with real with their cultural context. So moving on to the next slide, we have formative assessments or monitoring the learning progress of the students. Yeah, so in the beginning of the class, I have thought about one activity like for just the warm up, for warming up my students. I will use fraction snap game to observe their prior knowledge and engagement. So you can see or sorry, you can see about the details of the game in the lesson plan. So I'll not spend much time over here. So this activity will enhance their will like boost up their mind for the 1 hour lesson of the fractions. And then I have used guided practice strategies so that I can provide students with immediate actionable feedbacks related with their task performance. So my feedbacks will be task oriented and process oriented, and I will also provide students with stamps on their worksheets, like for example, excellent, brilliant, good work, keep it up, nice try, like that. And talking about feedbacks, I'm thinking to provide my students like I'll provide positive feedbacks at the beginning and then followed by the negative feedbacks, which will help them a lot. And also, if I find some of my students struggling with anything, I will provide them with one-on-one counseling and some extra materials to support their learning. And at the end of the class, I have used exit tickets where my students will be writing one thing I learned in today's lesson is about this, like that. So this exit ticket activity will be a perfect end to my 1 hour lesson plan, and it will brainstorm the whole lesson into one sentence. And this will also raise discussion and team collaboration. Yeah, it's good in all aspects. So formative assessment practices suppose continuous assessment and inform the next lesson's design as per Black and William 2009. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide now. So this slide is all about the lesson summary. And in the nutshell, I have integrated explicit teaching, guided and independent practice along with the differentiated teaching style for Peter and Annie. And moving on to the last slide, we have references over here. Yep, so as a teacher, I wish to be the change that I want to see in my students, and I will do whatever I can to support my students in the best way. That's all for today. Thank you for listening to my presentation.